Okay, welcome to the main section of today's podcast, where I am joined by the exceptional Marcus Trummer. Hello, Marcus.
Hey, good to be here, Dan.
Good to have you here as well. Thank you so much for coming on. Obviously, as always, with all my guests, um, I always start off with a the same question to every guest, just to kind of help introduce you to people who might not know your music or people who are just discovering it now. What genre would you say best describes your music?
Yeah, so I'd call myself a soul artist, a soul singer songwriter, but yeah, definitely drawing from a lot of stuff. It can all kind of be traced back to the blues, really.
Mm.
So blues and Americana music, but everything I do, I try to have that soulful element to what I do, and yeah, that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, I hear that a lot because when I first listened, I was sitting there thinking, oh, I like this because I'm a massive Americana fan, so I was hearing the Americana sounds. But then I went, actually, there's a lot of sort of Muscle Shoals kind of elements in this, and I was like, this is. And then as I listened through to your album from the start, I was like, as it went further, I was just getting those sounds more and more. So yeah, no, I 100% hear that exactly. I like to go chronologically with the way that I speak to artists. So I'll start off with finding out about your time when you were younger. So let's go back to childhood and what was playing in the household growing up. What was the first musical things you were hearing?
I definitely remember the blues and jazz influence coming in early. I grew up in a family that definitely appreciated music, and my dad plays guitar, and so I remember hearing a lot of guitarists as well early on. Stevie Ray Vaughan, Wes Montgomery,
Mm,
BB King. So some real legendary guitar players for
yeah.
sure, and yeah, guitar was never pushed on me really growing up, but
Mm,
eventually I kind of came around to it as I was in my early teens and started picking it up and just really enjoyed the electric guitar, being able to plug it in and make noise. And I didn't quite have the discipline to follow like a regimented practice routine or anything like that. So for me, it was all about the noise and hearing Black Keys or the White Stripes. And I remember I first got a fuzz pedal, and
mm,
that gets that really gritty sound for those who aren't
yeah.
guitar players, and I just loved that early on. But all that music still had a connection to the blues, and I think that still rings true today to what I do. I think it just that raw expression and that feeling that blues music is rooted in is something I always connected with.
Yeah, one thing we should actually speak about is actually where you grew up as well, actually, because as you can probably tell from the accent, you're not from the same part of the world as I am. So so can you let the listeners also know where you're from as well? I should have asked.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're far away, but somewhat related. I'm a Canadian, so I'm from
Mm,
Calgary, Alberta, Canada, which is, yeah, it's definitely. I feel like I'm kind of far from the southern U.S. in a way,
mm,
which is where a lot of my musical influence comes from.
yeah.
But I guess I could be further. I could be overseas in the UK or something. So
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's universal, isn't it? Music. It can travel from anywhere, especially in the modern era with the internet now. It just travels anywhere, doesn't it?
absolutely, and I hear there's a great tradition of a lot of blues musicians coming up to Canada and touring, and over in
Yeah.
Europe and the UK as well. It's one of those things. I think again, like just the emotion behind it is something that
Mm.
everyone can connect with and appreciate, regardless of where you come from.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's how I view it. It's the raw emotion side is so real because it's the blues, country, and folk are the three bedrocks of modern music, in my opinion. Those without them, you don't have rock and roll. Put it that way. So, and
For
that's
sure.
what kicks off in the 50s, starting pop music, basically, or the modern day version of pop music that we're used to. Anyway, that's how I view it. We'll get back to obviously the chronological style of interviewing that I do, and so you said you picked up a guitar obviously coming into teenagehood. So when did you start sort of feeling like I'm getting quite good at this and I could go forward with it?
Well, I was no stranger to performing. I grew up
Mm,
in school choirs and church, and for some reason, I always just felt comfortable on stage in front of people. So it wasn't too out of the ordinary for me to get
yeah,
up on stage. And I remember being encouraged to go to an open mic night. And the thing with that is you got to do original music. And
yeah,
so for the first time, I was playing something that I had actually written as opposed to just doing a cover song or something. And yeah, this was, shortly after first starting to play guitar. I was
mm,
probably 13. And of course, had written this song. And that was the first time where I was actually quite nervous to get on stage. I think something about the vulnerability of sharing
mm,
your raw expression of something that you've written, I think makes it a lot different. And yeah, so that was a big step for me. And I getting up on stage, doing an original song, overcoming that. I remember
yeah,
being kind of really encouraged to get up there because I was almost not gonna do it. I was in the, you know, in the back, like
mm,
ready to go home. And uh, got through that, and it was kind of the biggest reward ever. Just being able to share something that you had written and have it received by people who actually appreciated it. It was so cool. From then on, I was hooked. So I never really never really thought of myself as I'm gonna be a big star or anything like that. It was just kind of one thing led to the next. So I started going to more open mics,
mm,
and soon after that started checking out blues jams.
mm,
And I thought that was way more exciting than just being an acoustic guitarist
yeah,
in a little cafe.
mm,
So I wanted to get up on stage at the blues jam with the electric guitar. Like I said,
mm,
I always found the electric guitar a lot more cool. So eventually got up at the blues jams, and um, you know had to start my own band. So put together a band. Um, some of the same musicians that I play with today. My brother Silas plays the
mhm,
drums, and we'd been playing uh, together since the beginning. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool. But yeah, it was always just one thing led to another. Eventually we started hosting our own jam night
mm,
for youth. So
yeah,
we'd all come down to the bar after high school, and they did let us in on a Monday night, and we had to be out by 9 p.m. So it was a real early jam session. But hosting that for a couple of years just really gave me the opportunity to get comfortable playing all different types of music, because even though it was a blues
yeah,
club we were hosting, um, there's not that many young people playing blues. So
mm,
we would allow all genres. There'd be like a pop singer, and
yeah,
then next up some metal band would come, and um, sometimes they wouldn't have a guitar player, so I'd be up on stage trying
yeah,
to do my best to keep up. But yeah, and then it just kind of one thing led to another. Started playing gigs, and now now we're touring, releasing music.
yeah. I mean, it's what shocks me in many ways is that even theirs is how quickly it happened and how young you still were when, starting those jam nights and things like that was still happening. Because as you said, after high school, you go to the bar, you're still at school, right? So that was like that's I don't know anyone at school age who set up jam nights and things like that. It was always over here. It was always sort of men in their early 60s who are old classic rock guys, basically. So it's
Yeah,
quite commendable, really, in many ways. And
thanks.
obviously, it's a way for artists to gain experience. And actually, mentioning jam nights there for the non, because I don't know what it's like where you are, but I know as a musician myself and have gone to jam nights as well. Um, I know a lot of it is musicians in the room predominantly. Very rarely over here you won't have too many non-musicians. So for those who are non-musicians who listen, can you explain how they kind of work? Because they're not like gigs. There's not really always bands coming in. It's often just there are just people on stage, and it kind of molds itself and chops and changes and things, doesn't it? So
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in the blues world, it's common to just throw a few people on stage and see what
yeah,
happens. And there's definitely a tradition of the standard songs that
mm,
and you'll often hear them at every jam night. But everything's completely unrehearsed, and yeah, you're just getting up there and improvising, and that's kind of the basis of my approach to music too, I think,
mm,
is you have to be able to improvise. You have to be able to hear something and just start joining in. I
yeah,
think so much of blues and jazz, that's the biggest skill to have. And so I was fortunate to be involved in that growing up, and so I was able to develop kind of my ear for that, almost to the point where I've become too reliant on it. So the musical theory side of things is has always been lacking, right? And because I know my ears can help me out. But yeah, jam sessions are great for that. And uh, like I said, even ours, we were open to all different genres. So I had like the opportunity to try playing various musical styles that I'd never done before, and just being able to, hear something and join in. I
mm.
think it's something that makes this type of music unique for sure.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you said obviously you started getting, you're getting booked to play gigs and things from then on. Had you started releasing music at that point, or were you still just playing local gigs, just sort of getting part of the scene and gaining contacts and things?
Yeah, so early on in Calgary, I was just taking gigs at like I played the jam at this bar called the Blues Can, and then
Mm,
they wanted me to play a Thursday night or a Friday night.
yeah.
So I never really thought too much about the recording side. I just enjoyed playing live,
Mm,
and after some time, I'd written a bunch of originals because
yeah.
I wasn't too fond of playing covers all night. I like
Mm,
playing original material,
yeah.
and I learned like if you want to get better gigs, you gotta record and
Yeah.
put out a record. And so, yeah, my first studio experience, we went in and we had no idea what we were doing.
Mm,
We hadn't hired really a producer or anything. We just
mm,
kind of booked the studio time,
yeah.
and in a pretty nice studio, but we had no experience. So
Yeah.
my first record, I mean, some of the songs are like 9 minutes long and just ongoing jams, and it, it was a cool to have that memory. So we put that out. This was my originally my band was called the Marcus Trummer Band,
Mm,
and people still call us that when I play live too. It doesn't really
yeah.
matter. Marcus Trummer Band. But yeah, put that. It was an EP out in 2020, and then yeah, since then I've gone on to make a proper studio album. That was my debut record. You mentioned From the Start, and that one came out
Yeah.
in 2024.
Yeah.
And the jammy stuff from earlier has kind of been wiped, although there's still some places you can find it on the internet. Or if you're one of the lucky, I think, 100 people that picked up a CD,
Yeah.
they'll forever have it.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the thing. From the start is how I got to know you. So somebody I know has basically put me onto your music, and they said, "Look, you've got to listen to Marcus. This guy is absolutely fantastic." So I went and I listened, and I just put From the Start on straight away and just went all the way through. Put it on the way to work first time, and I've been listening to it, a few times since. And yeah, it's an absolutely amazing body of work. So congratulations to yourself on putting that one out, because yeah, it's just it's what I love about it, right? You got all your individual tracks, but if you listen to it just in the background, it almost feels like you're just going from one track to another. So it has kind of got that sort of your background of the blues and jamming and improvising, it feels like that's still there. Is that something that's
Mm.
kind of intentional with your music to give it that kind of feel?
That's cool to hear. Yeah, I think a lot of those songs I was just pulling from everything I had written because with
Mm,
this being my first album, I had that, and I've always kind of struggled to find where I fit in because I'm not necessarily a purist blues artist. I don't even make like specifically vintage or retro soul or anything like that. You'll hear on my record even a little bit of rock and roll and
yeah.
stuff like that. And so for me, I think, um, trying to tie all that together sometimes can be a challenge.
Mm,
But at the same time, I think it's part of what makes me who I am. And I think those that get it, it can be more interesting, I guess, as you're mentioning, kind of flows together, um, almost my own sound, I want to say.
mm,
And yeah, I definitely tried to maintain a little bit of that live aspect to the record and didn't want to, not leave guitar solos and stuff off it. So we left
yeah.
some of that stuff in and but you know, didn't do like the 9-minute jams or anything.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do that in the future.
Well, that's the thing. It's an incredibly concise record. It's literally it's the set of songs, and they run through perfectly, and there's nothing too overdrawn and overblown on it, which is a real art. Because so many, like, as a musician myself, I know the same. It's so easy just to just kind of go bleh, and put it all out there, if that makes sense. To actually
Yeah.
refine it back and to make it quite a concise piece of work is quite difficult, and it is a skill in and amongst itself. I will ask you more about some of the tracks on the album. I do want to talk to you though about, well, you've probably mentioned some already, but talk to you about some of your influences musically as well, and whether they come into the record itself. I don't know. You can explain, but yeah, who are sort of the biggest influences on your music? Because for people who haven't heard already, if they haven't already gone and listened to it and come back to the episode, it'll give them more of an idea of your sound as well, potentially.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Stevie Wonder when I was young, hearing his stuff for the first time and just being drawn to that
Mm,
sound. And there's something about that soul music that just
yeah.
really connected with me.
Mm,
Um, so I almost more listen to soul musicians, even though I'm a guitar player. I don't listen to as much guitar music, and something about that soul music, Curtis Mayfield
mm,
and funk, James Brown, and kind of all that stuff. But there was also a time when I was definitely into a lot of just songwriters and good songs, whether it was Tom Petty or
mm,
um, Jackson Brown or any of that kind of um, just song based music, and that's where it's interesting as a guitar player. I like doing the jams
yeah.
and those long guitar solos, but for me, it's really all about the songs and melody, and I try to equally kind of focus on the guitar playing, the singing, and the songwriting. But yeah, so much soul music, um, so much blues as well. We do have like one or two songs on the record that is more
Mm,
blues focused,
yeah.
and you'll hear my blues influences come out on my guitar playing. Always, of
Yeah.
course, some Albert King in there,
Yeah.
or even like a little bit of Jimi Hendrix styling, like just
Yeah.
jamming it out. But yeah, there's so much good music out there, and yeah, I try to absorb as much as I can.
That's it's interesting you said about the blues in your guitar playing there, because that I hear that so much. I hear the blues is in your guitar playing, the soul is in your vocal, the whole thing's wrapped up in this kind of Americana aesthetic to it as well.
Mm.
And I guess it kind of shows like the melting pot that the southern states of America really are musically. Like I I I always say Americana is an umbrella genre. Americana encompasses not just Americana itself, but also folk, country, blues, bit of soul, especially with the Muscle Shoals kind of stuff. And then you've also got, you know, your singer songwriters, your rockabilly gets in there as well. Like it is kind of a bit of a just an absolute melting pot, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, I think just all American music really
Yeah,
like I said, it can be traced back to the blues, I would say largely,
yeah,
and so having that as my foundation is huge. And then I don't limit myself to trying to make it only like a rootsy sound or like
mm,
super traditional. I would say what I do is a little bit more of a modern take, while still
mm,
kind
yeah,
of being in respect to the past. And
yeah,
obviously I have so much respect for all the greats that have come before, but I'm not necessarily trying to recreate it again, right? And so
yeah.
um yeah, it's kind of the next evolution of that for sure. But yeah, it's definitely it's a melting pot for sure.
Yeah. I want to talk about some of the tracks now on From the Start. The first track on the album I want to talk about first, which is Holding Out for You. This is the track that sort of grabbed me to the record, purely because it is the first song, and also it's still one of my favorite tracks on the record. The three I've picked are genuinely my
Mm.
favorite three. So can you tell us more about that song, if there's any story behind it, or what the song means, what it's about, etc.?
Yeah, I think "Holding Out for You" is it's just one of those songs that came together really great. And I think the biggest thing with that song is in the studio, it just clicked. So
Mm,
I'd written the song, just it's kind of your typical, you know, misconnection,
mm,
lost
yeah.
love song. And yeah, I brought it into the studio, and I remember just everything worked. It felt great, and we only had to do a few takes of it,
Mm,
and turned out to be probably one of our best songs on the record. I guess that's why we put it first. But just sometimes you're in the studio and you're having a fight to get a song done. You're doing take after take and having to adjust the tempo, and like something just doesn't feel right. This one was one of those that just right away felt great. Everyone in the band
mm,
was just rocking on it. There's some great keys playing on the song as well. My buddy Miles Evans Brana
mm.
out in Toronto played keys on that, and yeah, it's just I'm really proud of that track for sure. So appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, it's as I say, it drew me into the album, and what you said there really, it, you've basically put my thoughts into words. Where when you say it just clicks in the studio, that it does sound like that. It really sounds like just a group who are just blending together. It's kind of like when you hear like the slower Motown tracks, and you know how seasoned those musicians are and how much they know each other, and they just, you know, something weird can happen and unexpected, but to them it's expected because they just know what each other's going to do even when it's unexpected, right? And that's what that track
Yep.
feels like when you
Yeah,
hear it.
we were just having fun really,
Yeah,
and just enjoying making music.
yeah, no, it's a fantastic tune, and as is the next one I'm going to ask you about, because I love your vocals on this one. I mean, these are the sound of the soulful vocals on this track is like superb to me. It's Hard Time. Can you tell us a bit more about
Okay.
that one, please?
Yeah, Hard Time definitely. I would say it's songwriting, from a songwriting perspective, one of my favorite songs that
Mm,
I've ever written. I think it really just sums up kind of all I'm about. And
yeah,
I try to have some purpose to the music I'm making, right? And a message behind it. And I think for me, it's all about sharing this gift that I have with people to
mm,
bring people together, and you know, uh, kind of share love in a time when there's a lot of hate and division going on, right? And so
yeah,
that's kind of what that song's about. And yeah, I mean, I guess just from a songwriting perspective, I really dove into even kind of the gospel side of things
Mm,
there. There's a lot of great gospel music that I listen to, and try to incorporate some of that, some of the staple singer stuff, and
yeah.
kind of that classic Southern gospel sound. Again, just lots of good keyboard on there too,
Mm,
and and then we had to have the backup singers too for that
yeah.
gospel style, which was huge. So yeah, it's definitely, yeah, a song that I'm also very proud of, and I feel like it's a message that you know can resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah, I feel sometimes that's missing in popular music right now is that the message that that song's giving, messages of hope and things like that, because, it's a bit bleak right now in the world at times. And yeah, I feel like all we're hearing is songs that aren't about the world around us, I think, in the mainstream charts. So it is nice to hear songs like that being performed. Is that something you find you get drawn to quite a lot when writing?
Yeah, I would say for me, it's like my personal experiences through
Mm,
things, and I usually try to tie it to uh, a more universal narrative for sure.
yeah.
I want everything just to come from an authentic place when I write it. So yeah, it's usually coming from my struggles. A lot of these songs on my debut record, I wrote around 2020 and
Mm,
2021, and obviously a tumultuous time,
yeah.
and going through a lot of personal struggles. At the time, I was just entering adulthood
Mm,
as a like a 20-year-old,
mm,
and yeah, just struggling to kind of find my place in the world, and then seeing everything going on,
yeah.
just kind of throws you through a loop. And I had a lot of time to write, and just, yeah, wanted to kind of say something. I always felt songwriting has been um, a bit of a therapeutic thing for
Yeah.
me, and it's something kind of that I have to do when it grabs a hold of me. I have to get
Mm,
those songs out, and yeah, I'm just glad that people can connect with them. It's really cool to hear, like you were saying, someone from a completely different country enjoying
yeah.
enjoying my songs, and it's something I never would have imagined when I first started doing this. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? There's a level of validation, which is totally a valid thing to, to want and to need and to feel value from, right? And as a musician myself, again, I've had it not on the same scale that you have, but I've had it where people have come up at open mics and said they really like that song, and just someone saying they like it, it just you can't imagine. You only hear people say they like songs that aren't by yourself, right? So when it happens to
Mhm.
you, it's
Yeah,
it's huge, isn't it?
yeah, and I'll get messages from people all over the world that have found my stuff, just stumbled
Yeah,
across it, and the hard part is they all want me to come play
yeah,
their town somewhere, and we've been doing a bit of that, like a lot of road
yeah,
dogging it, a lot of miles, but there's just so many places. It's hard to get everywhere. I'd love
yeah.
to, but
Well, I want to ask about one more track, and this track is my favorite song on the record, and it's got a bit of edge to it when I listen to it. I feel anyway, and it's called "Let the Devil Win." It's the final track.
okay.
Can you tell us more about that one? Because I think it is because of how edgy it is in just sound. Right, it's got a bit more. It's got some gusto to it, right? I feel, and I just like it. So yeah, give us a bit more about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that one's a surprise for anyone who makes it to the very end. We
Yeah.
we put it last because it is quite different than a lot of the
Mm,
record. I've always appreciated rock music too, and especially kind
yeah.
of southern rock, roots rock. I mean, the Allman Brothers were a huge influence on me early on, and that one kind of has a little bit more of that rock
Yeah.
sound, and again, just I think I was drawn to a little bit more of a political message,
Mm,
and just comes from a place of uh, are we gonna let hate and division win, or are we gonna let
yeah.
love win, and I think it applies to everyone's lives and daily um, you know actions in their own communities. It's not just on
Mm.
a grand level,
Yeah.
right? And so it came from a little bit more of an angsty perspective
Mm.
there, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's that's definitely one that folks should stick around to the end to, because it'll be a surprise,
So
especially
100%.
yeah, compared to some of my more softer, R&B side. But that just shows, I'm into all that stuff, and I didn't want to just limit myself.
Yeah.
That one it almost didn't make the record because I felt like it's completely different. All of a sudden, people are gonna think I'm a rock artist now,
Yeah.
but I think all that music relates, and
Mm.
it's that soulfulness behind it that really
Yeah.
matters. And so um, those who get it, I would say,
Yeah.
and I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it's as I say, the whole album is fantastic and a huge triumph. From the start by Marcus Trummer. Go and give it a listen if you haven't already. It's absolutely phenomenal. I think it's a brilliant record. I want to ask you about your live shows. So, what does a Marcus Trummer live show look like, or sound like, should I say, even as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we talked a lot about the improvisational
Mm.
aspect, the jamming, and I definitely incorporate that into my live
Yeah,
show. So I think, as most people that come from the type of musical background I do, no two shows are going to be the same for sure. Lots of moments for expression are built into the set, and every guitar solo is going to be
yeah,
different. Even vocally, I'll approach things differently night to
mm,
night. But yeah, really, for me, that's what it's all about, is sharing this music live with people. And so there's nothing I love more than being on stage and being able to play with my band and just have fun all night. So that's what we do. But yeah, definitely come from that. It's the blues uh,
mm,
approach to things, right?
yeah,
You gotta build things up and bring them down and show people uh, what you can do live, and that's really what I'm all about.
yeah. Well, you are going on tour, aren't you? This episode, just so you know, is coming out literally in a couple of days. We're gonna get it out quick because you are going on tour.
Right on.
So do you want to tell people about your tour? I have got Canadian listeners.
Oh,
I know where
nice.
all my listeners are from, and I have got Canadian listeners. So yeah, do tell.
Yeah, we're just about to go on the road here in a few days. We're doing a tour of all of Western Canada, which is a lot of ground to cover
Mm,
in a short amount of
yeah,
time.
it's a big country.
It's always funny when I talk to people in Europe or the UK, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's just a 13-hour drive to our
Yeah,
first
yeah,
stop.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, we're going all the way from Winnipeg to the West
Mm,
Coast, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. This is my first time being on the road for this long,
mm,
and but yeah, we kind of kicked off this year actually being on the road. I spent the first kind of month of the year in the U.S. Actually,
mm,
we were able to play in Texas and down in Louisiana.
yeah.
Spent some time in New Orleans, and so down right to the roots of things. And now we're back up here, and it's freezing cold, and um, itching to get back on the road. So it'll only be a few days now, and we're gonna hit the road and try to warm things up for our Canadian friends.
Where can people find the tour dates as well, just before we move on?
Yeah, just marcustrummermusic.com, and all the ticket links are there. I should say we're touring with another Canadian artist who's great, Samantha Martin and
Mm,
Delta Sugar. Kind of makes similar music, soul, blues,
mm.
rootsy kind of stuff, and so it's going to be a great double bill. And yeah, definitely looking forward to getting out there.
Yeah, I want to ask you about the Canadian music scene, and I've then got a question that's a request question to ask you from somebody as well.
Oh, cool.
But first of all, what is the Canadian music scene like? I've been to Canada, but I was about 13 years old, so not really old enough to engage in the music scene. So yeah, tell me more about that, please.
Yeah, I mean, Canada's always had a good music scene. I feel
Mm,
like we always feel like we're in the shadow of the States. We're so close, but I think, you know, especially considering how small of a country we are, population wise, the amount of
yeah.
music we put out there is pretty great. I've always felt like, as like someone who's so into like American music and blues and soul, that I felt a little bit out of place here at times. And every time I visited um, cities like New Orleans or
Mm,
Chicago, I I feel a little bit more connected with that. But there's also a great history of those music, like musicians from the States coming up and playing in
mm,
Canada, and there's even been a bunch that have moved up here. So in Calgary, there's a handful of um, blues musicians
mm,
originally from Chicago that have landed here, and
yeah.
so I've been able to see that authentic Chicago blues even in
Mm,
Calgary.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, no, there's a lot of good music coming out of Canada, and it's definitely, yeah, it's a hard country to tour. It's
Yeah.
a lot of distance between the cities, and not that many of them, but I'm super grateful to be from here, and yeah, always be proud to be Canadian.
Yeah, no, as I say, there's so much. Well, as you say, I should say, there's so much great music that does come from Canada. You even mentioned Winnipeg earlier, for example. Like, there's loads of bands from Winnipeg,
Oh
that
yeah,
are just, just that have made it, especially over here. Those bands have made it all the way over here and have had
yeah.
success in the UK. Like, there's lots of bands from that area. So
Well,
yeah, it's rich history.
a place like Winnipeg, there's nothing else to do but practice your instrument.
Yeah, yeah,
Especially in the winter, it's so cold
yeah,
and
snowy
dark.
and everything. Yeah,
You're just
yeah,
gonna stay in and practice. So yeah, there's some great bands from there. I'm sure if you heard Bros Landreth and
yeah.
those guys, and they've been definitely an influence on me for sure. Ariel Posen, Joey Landreth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, 100%. My request question that I've been asked to ask you is, well, I should say we've had since the 60s, we've had a blues scene in the UK,
Yeah.
that is still going strong as of now. And we've now got an emerging Americana scene. People saying country's getting big in the UK. I'm like, no, that was 2, 3 years ago. Last year was Americana's year, and Americana,
Mm.
those artists have started playing the same venues as the American artists anyway have come over and played the same venues as the country artists coming over now. So it's definitely building itself up. Are you aware of anything to do with the British music scene? Any British artists that are on your radar?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I've crossed paths with a few of the up and comers in the scene, and there's some great blues. Uh, I played actually a gig in Nebraska of all places,
Mm.
and we were on the same lineup as Alice Armstrong.
Oh yeah,
Uh, you might have heard
yeah.
of CC, a great
I've
blues.
interviewed her. I've
Oh, there you
interviewed her.
go. Great
Yeah,
blues
yeah.
powerhouse singer.
Mm.
And yeah, there's definitely a lot of music coming out of the UK that I'm big on. I mean, I think you might have interviewed them as well. Eddie Smith.
Yeah, Eddie Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He's
Yeah.
superb, isn't he? As well.
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
super soulful.
Mm.
And again, that kind of you can hear that Americana influence
Yeah.
creeping over to the UK as
Yeah.
well. Um, but yeah, in terms of what's going on now, I think it's super exciting over there, and I'm hoping to tour there someday as well.
Yeah. Well, it'll be great if you do. And if you do come here, I will definitely be making one of your shows, especially if you have a London show. I'll definitely make sure I try to get there best I can. But yeah, no, Marcus, I want to say a huge thank you for coming onto the podcast. We'll wrap up afterwards, obviously. But before we go, do you want to let everyone know where they can find not only your music, but also find where you are online as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Just Marcus Trummer. Um, and yeah, you'll find all my stuff, marcustrummermusic.com. And yeah, would love to keep in touch. I've got a place you can put your email in on my website. and that's the best way to make sure you don't miss out when I finally do make it to the UK. I've been talking about it a long time. It's gonna happen for sure.
Excellent. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast, and thank you to everyone for listening at home. See you soon.